Welcome to Community Cuts. We're hosted by SALON LEAHING, 732 Washington Avenue in Brooklyn. We're live in Brooklyn with Brooklynites. Tell us your name.
So I'll introduce myself. My name is Sharon Wedderburn, Brooklynite, born in Crown Heights, lived in Prospect Heights, lives around Crown Heights again. It's important that we talk about these issues because as native New Yorkers, all of us, we have more than a little bit of an idea of how things at the citywide level affect Brooklyn, especially given that people know our great secret. Brooklyn has always been an awesome place to live. There are always opportunities and different living experiences for people. And because of that, we are always advocates for a quality of life.
Renee Collymore.
Hi, everybody. I am Renee Collymore, your former district leader of the 57th Assembly District and your Democratic liaison from the Democratic Party of Brooklyn. I am the vice chair of the county committee for the Democratic Party of Brooklyn, and we elected the education chair for the Democratic Party for the entire borough of Brooklyn.
Good evening. My name is Mr. Ricky T. James. I'm with Preservationals. I trade as an architect and developer of architecture. I am interested in what goes on in the city as far as what we can use as residents of Brooklyn, what is available to us, and what is our initiative, what we can use those things that they give to us for competing with the rest of the city.
So we have some other Brooklynites here that's also going to express their thoughts and their thinking about this political, where we are in this political Brooklyn and political New York. So let's start out politics. Renee, let's start out with you. You are somewhat immersed in this politics in New York City. What do you think about what's happening with our mayor? We voted for him twice as a state senator, also as a bar president, and then we put him up for mayor. What's your thoughts about our political climate that we're in?
Well, don't forget that we did vote for him as our senator. He did represent us here in Crown Heights, and we are so ever grateful for his contribution to the city of New York and to Brooklyn. And so it's very unfortunate that you can work so hard. And sometimes with certain people, it's just not enough. You can do A, B, C, D, E, and then the last letter, if you don't do what they want for that last letter, they will forget all that you've done prior. And I would like to take this time to speak about his character. I've known Eric Adams, our mayor, for maybe about 20 years now. And I have to share with you this. I've been around now for quite a bit, right? And I've experienced a lot of things. I've learned a lot throughout the years. I'm going to swing this around and let you see what I'm saying. I've experienced people who haven't been so nice, which we all do in life. I've experienced before I started actually running, preparing to run, people wouldn't be so, welcoming or embracing because I'm the new kid on the block, right? And so sometimes you get, well, who are you? Or I don't know, you get all of that. And sometimes people would be dismissive. You get all of these things when you're trying to do something and you see a vision for your community. However, many times there are gatekeepers in neighborhoods that want to stop you, right? And I have to say that in all the years that I've known this man, Eric Adams, he has never treated me like that. When people are talking about what's happening, I have to say, listen, whatever's going on, I understand what you're saying, and I'm staying abreast, obviously. I know what's happening. But when you talk about someone's character, or you've known someone this long, you should know a little more about them. If I'm around you all the time and we're doing this and doing that for many years, if someone says, I've never been a thief, right? I've never been a liar either. If I tell it, you can take it to the bank. If I say such and such, and the news will say, Renee's a liar. If you've been with me for 20 years, you should be able to say, now, you may not like her, but she is not a liar. Now, I've known her. And so we need people to be able to testify to and be a witness to his character, people that know him. And people where we say, oh, not just because he's black, people have to use that as well. But I want to share this with you. When it's important to do that, we should. Because we have enough against us. Those here in Brooklyn who are politically active and we work in our communities, we've seen him come to small local meetings. We've seen him at the local police precinct council. We've seen him at tenant associations. He's not someone that we don't know. And all of the time that I've known him, I've never known him to be criminally minded. So sometimes when people take an opposite approach, sometimes I have to look at you sideways to say, where are you coming from with this? What is your agenda? Because sometimes when people really don't want you there, they'll come up with all sorts of stuff. Oh, well, that time he didn't vote for this. Let me share with you. The mayor has been fighting against crime. He's a cop, right? And you have a city council who is far left, but predominantly far left. These people do not want him there anyway. So when you're kind of like running a business, if your whole surroundings is really against you, it's sometimes hard. It's harder to accomplish and to be successful in your vision and what you're trying to do because everybody's attacking everything that you do. So I just want to say he has a good character. And if he didn't, I would not have been working with him this whole time. No kind of way. So I just want to testify to that.
Did you vote for him as a state senator?
Well, he's outside of the 57, so he's right there. But when I go over to like places like Edwardsfield for the tenant meetings, I would see him there. I would see, his other folks that have been in that seat as well after him. So we all see each other at these little meetings, you know what I mean? Community boards and things like that.
So I can honestly say that Eric Adams has been my state senator. He has been my borough president. Now he's the city of New York mayor. And I think one of the things that has been central in his representation, he looks at it, this is my town, this is my community, this is my district. And, Renee is very truthful when she says that you were able to see Eric. You see Eric on the street. I mean, I remember one time on a Saturday morning, I was very surprised to see him at the bus stop. And he was like, Senator Adams, where are you going? And you can have those conversations because there's so many people that remove themselves from the community once they're elected. They're too busy. And I think we're very fortunate in Central Brooklyn and the representation that we have. We have really had community-minded people. So the thing I think that's most important to remember, allegations and indictments, and someone is innocent until proven guilty. So one of the things that's really important is to let the facts present themselves and and follow the process, whatever happens. Because, you want to be able to say that, he was given a fair opportunity, much like people would cry at the federal level and they say that, oh, they're coming for me because of X, Y, and Z. You have to look at policy, you have to look at action, right? And to be able to look at policy and look at actions, to be able to formulate some decision. I mean, many of us have a knowledge of not only the mayor, but the people that have received subpoenas, the people that have had their phone seized, right? And the people that we know because they're community people, we know them from church, we know them from our community work, and again, bumping into them in the supermarket. Prospect Heights do. And one of the things that's amazing, the people that you see in the farmers market and the people that you see in the supermarkets, it's amazing because, they're regular schmegular and they're doing the same thing as you're doing. And because they're doing the same things that you're doing, the same issues that we have, especially like the pocketbook issues, they're affected by the price of food, they're affected by the rising insurance rates, they're affected by the rising taxes. the goods and services that don't work. I was in an Uber today and I joked with the driver. I said, Google doesn't tell you that they're remilling the streets, right? And all of a sudden you're driving from Saigon, and to be able to say, this street, it's flooding all the time. It makes a difference that someone actually not only hears you, but understands your problems.
I can go on for a couple of years about Mayor Adams, Mr. Adams. We went to the same school together. City Tech, he graduated, I graduated before him. I saw him struggling in school, I helped him. Some of the things that he was doing in school, as far as an example, how it was done. Again, he, as a borough president, he helped us with the American Disabilities Act. As an architect, we got these curb cuts on the street. You can walk down and be comfortable, wheeling a wheelchair, pushing a cart. Basic things like that, and initiatives that we can work on, we can make finance, and we can use in the city as something that's not destroying the city. Now he's working on the city, yes. In Albany, they are very much against it. They state that it would tear into the fabric of the city and make it seem to be not good, bringing in a different element into the city for we co-ops. I'm not for it or I'm not against it, so I'll just leave it alone until the people weigh in to it. It's called the City of Yes because of the fact that it's an acronym for something else. If at all that the mayor does look at it as he did it to begin with, it will change and accommodate everyone. So that's really good. One good thing about our mayor at this present time. He's accommodating. He says, we've got indictments against me. I'm fully aware. Tell me all about it.
You bring up a very good point about the relationships between the different levels of government and how they're affected. I remember having a conversation early this week about now that there are several indictments against the mayor, and we said they're looking at seizures and requiring people to testify before grand juries. How is the city actually going to function, right? And the city, as you know, does not have home rule besides in Albany, because things that affect New York City, those decisions are made with the state assembly, the state senate, and the governor's office. So, what kinds of supports are we going to have, right? And it's really important to understand that this has to be a partnership. And one of the things that quickly happened, the corporate council was vacant, right? And one of the things that the mayor did was that he appointed a long-term employee who has a sterling reputation in terms of just her reputation, the person that she is herself, her role in the community, and it's somebody that everybody respects in corporate counsel. And that person is in the corporate counsel, and that means that we now have a legal representation for the city. We're coming upon elections, and many people are looking towards what's next. But it's most important to keep the eye on the ball. Who do we need to have in what particular roles for the city to be able to function effectively? And more so for the mayor to understand that, irrespective of what might happen with the indictments, that, and that he's currently a candidate for mayor, he is obliged by the date of his election in 2021 to govern the city appropriately through 2025. So you have to look at the ongoing issues that we have in the city. And one of the things that you notice is a mismatch between housing availability and the cost of housing. So we have an abundance of housing, but not all people can find that housing that is within their means, right? So what are we going to do? Are we going to expand social housing? People talk about NYCHA, the New York City Housing Authority, which pegs your rent based upon your income. You pay 30% of your income towards your rent, which is a federal rule. And all of us know that the federal government has less funding. And that where locations are, like in our community, we have several public housing communities, Ingersoll, Walt Whitman, Farragut, Fort Greene, is Fort Greene one of the housing communities as well too? So when you look at that, you're now in what are really desirable neighborhoods, right? And, what do people want to do? So there was a editorial in the New York Post talking about Chelsea Elliott, which is a public housing community in Chelsea. And the argument was, hey, why are you guys going to build new public housing? The city needs to get out of this because they cannot afford to permanently subsidize housing. You're not necessarily subsidizing people for a lifetime, but the people who we rely upon to keep the city moving don't make wages that match with where the rents are. Because I was very surprised to know for a family of three, $60,000 a year is considered a low income salary. And for many people, $60,000, especially if you're working for a city agency, a state agency, that is a respectable salary. You accumulate benefits that you can raise your family well, but there's no place for you to live. So these people are moving because they've made jokes about people moving to Atlanta, people moving to Charlotte, a lot of people moving to New Jersey. Then where are these people who are essentially salt of the earth people? Where are they going to live? But to be so specious as to say, this property is worth $77 million. Why don't we give all the existing tenants a buyout of $150,000, right? And in most places, if you get a windfall of $150,000, you can buy a house. This is New York City. Even if you have a down payment of $150,000 and you're making an average salary of $60,000, can you afford to house yourself, right? And then we have to maintain the housing that we have, and that's the investment. And those are the kinds of things that I can honestly say that people are actively working on. But just the attitude, it's like, this is not a lifelong subsidy. People just need to have a quality of life, and then bring cooperative relationships between the city and the state to provide that middle income housing. And some of the successes we've had from a program that was initiated in the 1950s, the Mitchell-Lama Rentals and the Mitchell-Lama Cooperatives, that's something that we need. And what that is, it's middle income housing. And who did it house? It housed school teachers, it housed clerks, people that didn't make a lot of money but wanted a stable place to live. And what did it do? It provided stable communities. And that's how Brooklyn was able to grow when there was that mass exodus out of the city. So when you have political leaders now that are born and raised in Brooklyn, born and raised in New York City, they actually, it's not like they understand your plight by observation. They live there and they know a lot of the people that are similarly situated, that have that same kind of experience.
Hi, Renee.
Well, not adding to what you're saying, but I want to say that on a different note, that I really am asking Black people that we not rush to judgment just because of what you're reading in the news. And I'm saying don't rush to judgment because the news and the media is putting out there, oh, all of the Democratic leaders, all of the Democratic electeds are asking him to resign.
Not true. Not true.
Not true. If the news is asking electeds who are against him anyway. If you say Renee's a good elected, Renee's a good leader, Renee's a good whatever, and then the next person says, and it's like all of a sudden, oh, no, she's not. If you're asking 20 people that don't like me, or 20 people who are against me, of course, those 20 are going to say Renee is not a good person. It depends on who you ask. We're talking about a progressive wing that is growing by leaps and bounds in this city. And especially in our district, especially down here, the real estate is big, right? And gentrification has taken over decades ago now. Many of us have been moved out and pushed out because once certain folks come in, the rents go sky high, your property taxes, and I know what I'm talking about, we pay property taxes, it's sky high. And so just because you have certain ones that are willing to speak out, those are the ones that are against him. This is why we have to speak out for him and not be like, well, I'm not saying nothing. Because a lot of times we like to do that. I don't want to say nothing. I don't know why to be mad at me. Because see, it's him today, gonna be you tomorrow. You're gonna need people standing in front of a mic for you tomorrow and say something in support. Because you may need us to save your business here. You may need us to save your home. You may need us to do certain things, and you're gonna want a strong voice to stand up for you. And so, as this is happening, he's dealing with groups who have aligned and organized in this district, in our city, to take over the Democratic Party, especially here in Brooklyn. I know that for a fact.
To be more specific, it's Central Brooklyn. Central Brooklyn, which for decades and decades was equated with Black Brooklyn. And when you see the fissures, right, you see long-term residents that have community ties and people who have been here for a relatively short period of time. There was a race in the 56th Assembly District, and we had a long-term community-oriented person who, she's the kind of person where one group of her constituency noticed that someone was absent. Do you know where she is? And let me call her name, Stephanie Zimmerman, right? Stephanie, have you seen this person? We are concerned about her because we have not seen her. Is she okay? Stephanie Zimmerman placed a phone call to someone, me, who would know where she is because we live on the same block. For an elected to be able to recognize constituency or people in nearby communities, she might know where she is. This is how you contact this person. Renee, is your mother okay? Sharon, did you get your niece into that school that she needs to be? Those are the kinds of people that we work with because it's shifting the balance of political power. And let's be clear, right? Some of us have gotten comfortable that that we don't need to come out and vote. We don't need to go to meetings. We don't have to be concerned with issues. You cannot wait until the issue slaps you in the face because the people who are interested in acquiring power have been organizing among themselves. Oftentimes they think because you're not speaking to a particular group, you're not integrated socially, that nothing happens. And many times you're not aware of the institutions that could deal with things. Community boards, social organizations, community organizations that already deal with the same problems. And because problems, issues, concerns, and because they have experience, they know who they can talk to expeditiously to get it taken care of, any issue, problem, or concern, or they know what lever they need to pull. A lot of people will have complaints about that tree because, we're shedding leaves now. Well, who did you call? How did you make a complaint? Did you call 311? I called 311. Did you get a complaint number? No, I didn't take it down. Well, call 311, get the complaint number, and you follow it with the community board. Why the community board? The community board's central responsibility is to interact with different agencies. So they have the relationship with parks, with police, with the Department of Education, with sanitation, and they have the ability to have greater insight as to how that problem exists and when it's going to be resolved. Crossing your hands and saying nothing's getting done, isn't actually accurate. You just don't know what's being done. I complained about the streets before. If I was paying more attention, I would know which streets are being built instead of complaining about driving through Saigon. It's not, you have to be aware of what's going on. For me, I got involved in the community board. I came home from work one day and the traffic on my street was going in exactly the opposite direction, and I didn't know that was happening. And I realized it was time for me to be more engaged.
I just want to continue on what I was saying because we have a real issue here, and sometimes people want to overlook it. But there's a group called the New Kings Democrats, and there's another group called the DSA. The DSA is the Democratic Socialists of America. And this is predominantly, both of them, these groups are predominantly white groups who will run Black candidates. The DSA, the New Kings Democrats, they did press conferences and they stood up and said openly, we want to take over the Democratic Party. That's it. We wanna, and one time, I remember when I was running, there was what's it called, an endorsement meeting. I said, they wanna act like they support of, like they said, people of color, right? Everybody wanna help the people of color, right? And it's never us talking about help the people of color, because we know we need help. We've been crying about this forever. But they make it an issue to help the people of color. And all of these things, that we want this, and we want transparency from a Democratic Party. I get on the Zoom, and I start citing off some of the things that I've done throughout my course in the community and politics and all of these things. They said to me, Renee, we understand all the things you've done and we appreciate it, but the bottom line is, will you help us take over the Democratic Party and get out the county leader, who is the first Black woman to ever have this seat? That's it. All we want to know is, will you vote against the county leader? Will you help us get us out? That's it. I mean, they don't care about all the things that they're saying about the people of color. If you're so concerned about the people of color, this woman is the first Black woman in this city. Why do you want to get her out? And I said, well, has she done something wrong? Well, maybe I'm missing something. Did she commit a crime? No. Is she indicted anything? No. Was she charged with anything? No. I said, so then why would I help you get this woman out? And these are the things that most average voters do not know this. But when you're inside this system, this is what is going on. Now, see, if you see a Black candidate and another Black candidate, and she's with the New Kings Democrat, who is the opposing side to the Democratic Party, all you see is two Black women. You will not see the white folks behind her. You will not see that. So they'll be like, oh, well, no, we want Black people, and we support Black candidates. Look, yeah, look, she's with you and your agenda, and that's it. Meanwhile, the Mitchell-Lama buildings are experiencing increases in maintenance fees every year, they're telling me. Right? All those on-the-ground surface issues are not being addressed by this new wave of elected officials. This new wave that we have in this district is unbelievable. They believe that they should just go into the chamber, whether it's the city council, whether it's the assembly, and work from there. They don't believe really in coming into the field and coming to these little meetings. Because when I was coming up, I always saw Mary Pinkett, my council member. I always saw Tish James at all these little meetings. But they just, they throw that away as if they don't need to sit there and listen to us and be held accountable.
Well, you know what, I throw that back on how actively we participate in the electorate, because there are elected officials specifically that cover the 57th, that cover the 20th, the 25th senatorial district, right? They were elected largely without our votes, right? So it just in terms of accountability, if you were able to be elected without votes of long-term Black residents, then and Ace and Aces,
They don't need to come here.
then they don't have to come to
Right.
us. And they're trying to make people accountable to you when they, I don't really need you, right? Or if you're not familiar with your carrying. So I might be telling tales out of school. Like here's an example, right? You have a state senator that's elected to represent Bedford-Stuyvesant, and a state assemblywoman who's elected to represent Bedford-Stuyvesant. In order to carry a bill successfully in the state legislature, you have to have a Senate sponsor and assembly sponsor. So why does the assemblywoman in Bedford-Stuyvesant have to have a sponsor in Queens in order to move legislation that would be beneficial to the community? Why? Right? That doesn't say that you're representing the community itself. What it says is that you're representing an agenda that does not prioritize the needs of the immediate community.
Question. Talking about Mrs. Collymore and the Black issue, affordable housing, the architecture, why are there so few concerned about affordable housing for their own people if there is Black architects in Brooklyn? So I did do some research on my own, and I found that there was very, 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 very few. And you did say that there was a contingency of Black. Take that question, Collins.
Well, Thank you for that question. First and foremost, there are some black developers. There are not many. You know that there are not many. There are many though, right? There are many black black landowners
Mhm.
who want to be developers, but they cannot get the opportunity to be developers. Why? Many of them want to develop, but if they have no experience in major and massive developments, a lot of them, they don't understand, or they may fight against understanding that you're going to need another like an established developer, and you're going to have to do a joint venture. If you have look, no one is going to invest their money on you and you have no experience. Yes, you have the land, but you got to have the experience to match, but you don't have that. I have that. So now you have to be, in order to be kind of like labeled as a developer, yes, you must team up with this person here who really has actually done the work, because it takes money to be a developer. Right? It takes money. And a lot of our folks, unfortunately, are not in the proper circles. We don't want to, go ahead and rub elbows and do what we got to do sometimes. I'm talking about something I've already learned, and I know I've been through this already now, that, I was working with a man here in Crown Heights. He had a lot of land, and he wanted to do that so bad, but he couldn't get any support. And then
That is what happens. The support
he
just
couldn't get any.
disappears.
That's right.
Yeah.
Well, it's not only support, it's access to capital, right?
Capital is always there. Capital
Not the
is
money.
always there.
Do you meet the other criteria that you have to be able to get the capital?
Yeah.
Money is always available for an investment, right? But do you meet the criteria? One of the criteria is, what is your track record? So if you've never developed a parcel of that size, a particular kind of
I don't
development,
think that's true.
I
They have
disagree.
never, I've seen beginning individuals from schools like NYU
Mhm.
come in and decide that this should be developed as something that they can use.
Mhm.
If there is a black-owned office in Brooklyn
Mhm.
that can even try to do, they're always shut down.
Well, so there's some, and I'm not gonna call specific names, right? But there are some development organizations that are now passing into the second or third generation.
Right.
And they've built major institutions, including the National African American Museum of History and Culture, right? There are people that do not-for-profit development in New York City. And I'm thinking that this is the third generation, so it is available, but because they have a track record, and because they have an understanding of the lay of the land, with whom do they have to partner with whom do they have to contact, with whom do they have to contract with, and again, having that track record makes it easier to get that loan because your financials say that you can do it. And that's what people don't have the experience in. One of the things that one of the things that HPG has tried to do is to identify and help form those relationships with somebody who's less experienced and with somebody more experienced, so you can develop the person with the less experience so they can become a developer in their own right. And that's been a very successful program.
And then our people have to go to school. Honestly, you're doing something like building buildings and you want to be a developer, you really have to be into business. You really have to know your business. And if you've only experienced doing like 1 or 2 stories, that's not enough. You want to build 20 stories high, but you only have 2 levels worth of experience. It doesn't add up, right? And there are many things that these people who want to do really don't understand. So this is why, we as Black people, we gotta level up. And whatever you do, you have to level up. You have to learn your craft and learn what you're trying to do. And so once you do that, then maybe people will say, yeah, I think I'll bring you on board.
But so Renee, there's something, it's leveling up is one thing, but another thing is to scale. There's a very successful developer. They began with 1 dump truck, right?
Mhm.
1 dump truck. And that dump truck begat 2 dump trucks, and they started getting experience in working in projects. They had the ability to meet other people that would work with them. very successful.
Yeah, but we gotta make the steps, that's what you're just saying.
Scale-
That's what I'm saying, you
scale.
got to make the steps. We cannot sit back and think like, oh, well, I'll get with you and I come in your office and sit down, can you help me? I want to build this 20-story building.
But if it was not intentional to include people who had less experience so they could have more experience, because that's a policy decision.
I mean, you gotta go to school. When you build that building, when you're in real estate, all the other developers that I talk to, I deal with them, I do a lot of work with them. These people are well educated in real estate. You cannot be a developer and you're guessing.
No, nobody's saying that, just as you have to make sure that you're able to build the project with the budget. What kind of income are you going to generate? Are you going to be able to service those loans? And they talk about term sheets, and they talk about what you need to make a building profitable so that a bank or financial institution or not-for-profit organization that is engaged with development is willing to put their capital at risk for this vision.
I would like to thank you ladies for giving me the opportunity to ask questions. I am not a political figure. I don't believe that I would sit halfway near you in politics. So again, the issue of architecture is easy for me. So it's understandable that to ask the question to the politicalists, I would get more support. And like I just said, you two did say an issue of support and backup is what is required with the issue of continuing on and getting the level in this profession.
But it's not even a matter of politics, it's a matter of knowing your community and serving your community. Once you start engaging in community service, you recognize what needs to be done and you form relationships. And some of the most successful partnerships come from all of us looking at one issue from different perspectives. You know, we talk about education from a community resident to a parent, to a grandparent, to even a child. You know, one of the things I love is the Department of Education gives its children an opportunity to test drive the food, right? And they'll say lunch is disgusting. And why is that important? Because if you're buying lunches or you're buying food that the children don't consume, it's a waste of our tax dollar money. So look at what they want. Do they have food that's culturally relevant? You know, you see many schools that serve things when you have a Caribbean population, and you see plantains on their menu, right? That's something that they know, that they're familiar with, and they're not going to waste, right? And you look at the nutritional value by it, because, you know, I think one of the things that historically, you know, having people hew to one kind of food, oftentimes, you know, you talk about different levels, different waves of immigration. And Italians often have a problem with the fact that the WASP wanted them to eat oatmeal. Where they come from in Italy, that's what you feed the hogs. That's not what you feed human beings. So, you know, saying that this is, you're not being culturally responsive. And, you know, being able to be culturally responsive and what's nutritious, you know, what's available, you have to be able to have that kind of feedback from the community to make things work better.
Let me ask, there's two gentlemen that just walked in. Harold, can you come up here for a second? He's a New Yorker, retired
Hello,
police.
everybody. How you guys doing?
Hi.
Good evening.
Right, retired police officer.
Dude,
How are you?
New York politics, how do you see it?
New York politics.
we don't see you.
Neil.
Got bad knees from playing baseball. Yeah, New York politics. Wow, broad question. It's a lot going on in New York politics. You know, it's just a lot that's going on with New York politics right now. It's a lot going on with the mayor. It's a lot going on with the administration. It's a lot going on with the police commissioner. You know, I just sit back and just try to learn. You know, I don't have a clear-cut answer on what's going on. It's been a very rough year. You know, I'm not going to go into blaming any individual or whatnot. But 2024 has been just a very interesting year with the politics that's going on. With there's a lot of investigations going on. So I just sit back and I'm not judging anybody. I'm just here. I'm just trying to learn what's going on with 2024. It's been a very interesting year, and that's all I have to say on that.
Thank you, Harold.
Without giving, without throwing names out.
Thank you, Harold.
Thank you, Duke.
Thomas,
My knees.
Thomas, you want to say something, Thomas? This is another Brooklynite person.
Good evening to everybody. My name is Tom. I grew up right here in Brooklyn. And as a result of being a parent of 3 boys, I moved to Maryland. But as a result of coming back and back and forth, I see how the city has changed. You know, and my people, they own their own home, family. 5 generations lived in that same house. But coming back here, you know, things are different, you know what I mean? And it seems like we're being pushed out. But somebody had to allow them to do what's going on right now. You know what I'm saying? And I understand that. You know, I understand that. Everybody wants better. Everybody wants somewhere better to live. Everybody wants things they deserve. You understand what I'm saying? And I don't put color in it or nothing like that. It's a matter of fact of putting the footwork in. You get what you get when you put the footwork in. And I've done it. I've raised my family. I'll be 65 this month. But I'm coming back home and I'm seeing the change. You understand what I'm saying? And I'm trying to see where we fit in. But as I go around the city, I see where we're being pushed out at. You understand what I'm saying? It's like a picture. That's where they are. They know where to go. You know what I mean? But these are people that grew up here in Brooklyn. You know what I mean? For me, the way I look at things, I think people that grew up here and they're building all these buildings, we should have first preference because they're moving us out of our habitat. You understand what I'm saying? We've been here. We've been here through the thick, the thin, and all of that. You understand what I'm saying? We can't blame Mayor Adams for nothing. He's a man that he does his job. He probably was thinking how he can help us get out of the project and get in a decent place to live and stuff like that. So that's my frustration. It doesn't have nothing to do with anyone else. So I'm glad that I can have an opinion on it coming back from Maryland after being there for 26 years, raising my children, back and forth, coming to the house, taking care of my mother and everything like that. But now I'm living here. You know what I'm saying? And I think I live here. I'm from here. Don't come building stuff around here and don't give me an opportunity to live like everybody else that you selling these houses to and all that stuff like that. So that's my frustration. I'm sorry, but it's real. And you know what? When things happen, sometimes you got to step outside of the box and bring fresh eyes in. See? And when you got fresh eyes, you can see things. But if you're living in it, you just the same as what you're living in. So, but everybody needs an opportunity. I wish that brother listened to me. I don't judge my people. They do. I'm not being biased. Don't get that. But hey, listen, we need him. You know what I'm saying? We need him around. You know what I'm saying? No matter what. We've been blamed for a whole lot of stuff. We always blame for stuff. But I don't have nothing against that. But That's my frustration about coming back to Brooklyn and seeing the gentrification and all that stuff like that. And how did it happen? Because we all had the opportunity to do the same thing. But that's just how it works.
Renee, I wanna tap into you about the migrant situations here in Brooklyn that is just rampant throughout Brooklyn.
It's really a disgrace. And as I was stating earlier, the groups that are here, the progressive side of our city, they want this. They want this. You have no idea how many emails that I get. Oh, Renee, 47 Hall Street is a needed facility. What? 47 Hall Street is housing, is mass warehousing human beings. 4,000 plus migrants are living at 47 Hall Street and 29 Ryerson. There was a stabbing, there was an outbreak of the measles, there was an outbreak of tuberculosis, there was a triple of murder. How in the world is 47 Wall Street needed? Migrants are having sex relationships outside, under people's windows. A woman that lives right in the neighborhood at 770 Fulton told me the other day that her daughter-in-law was chased by a migrant with an axe. A woman who lives on Hall Street, an elderly woman, came outside and saw migrants sitting on her stoop and said, you know, can you move away from my city? Got angry, took up a brick and threw it through her window. Nobody can tell me nothing about this issue with this migrant situation when I have to come out my house and see migrants washing up with Poland Springs bottles in front of my door. So because of the overpopulation and because our elected officials do not want to downsize, they said it. Our council member has come to my town hall meetings where there was 1,000 people said, I do not want to downsize. She refused to downsize. How could you keep an overpopulated shelter where there's tuberculosis going on and running rampant? There is a Venezuelan gang in these shelters right in our district. And you don't want to downsize or try to, help the situation? You know what the electeds say? We want more for the migrants. More? Okay, so wait a minute. People are living in fear. People who have voted for you, and you want more for the migrants, not the people that voted for you. People are afraid because their property value are dropping. People on Wall Street and Ryerson, they're selling their house like hotcakes. You want a house? Go to Wall Street. People want to live in safety, but this progressive side of our city want you to get rid of the police department. Defund the police. Honey, we need these cops. When I come home at night, I'm afraid now. People are like, well, should we stay inside? People that would normally go and walk their doors are afraid. So I'm not trying to hear no one tell me, oh, she should wait for this person. I'm not waiting for nobody because I know how to speak up for my community. That's first and foremost. And what I see is a disgrace, and it's shameful. People can't even get housing properly. People can't get, resources for our own families, but yet do more for the migrants. My father's an immigrant. Came in, nobody gave him nothing. Excuse the double negatives for all the teachers. But came here, worked, and built this community. Nobody gave us a handout. They still not giving us no handout. Everything I know and earned and learned, I had to do it by fighting like a dog to get it. So now, why are we so ready to give $5 billion, $10 billion over to the migrants who can't even speak English? This doesn't make any kind of sense to me.
So, and here's the issue. What you're seeing on Wall Street is federal policy gone awry. Federal policy gone awry. And if federal policy is gone awry, how does it affect the city? And that's one of the things that we have to think about. And it's not so much that there's a concentration, it's more that the facility that they're located at is inadequate, right? And then you talk about the expense. At one point, people were being housed at what was known as the Roosevelt Hotel. How much money do we have from that? And you have to think about it from the federal level, right? That they had worked out a deal between conservative Republicans and more and Democrats. to be able to address the migrant crisis, right? And it is a crisis. People are fleeing their countries because they fear safety. How we process the immigration system is broken, and what we're seeing is a legacy of that. Now, you know, when they move in shelters, if it's migrant shelters, shelters for people who need to be housed, they do it in the middle of the night without any consultation with the community because they're afraid that the community is going to say no. But at the same point, from a human level, how are we going to adequately take care of these families? Because what we're seeing too is that we have families that are coming, their children need to get education, or we see children not in school. If those families remain here, then these children will not have the education that they need to be able to be productive members of society. And what does productive mean? That means that they're earning a job, they have a job where they're earning a wage and they are taxpayers and not people who benefit from tax receipts.
You know what, let me say something to this. Every migrant that's here is not fleeing something bad in their country. Every migrant that has crossed this border is not an asylum seeker. How do I know? How do you know, Renee Collymore? I can tell you I know, because I go down there and I talk to them. Mm-hmm. You have migrants coming here from Jamaica. I said, sir, why are you here? Oh, I saw the cop stab somebody. Yeah? So I had to flee my country. It's dangerous. Really? I said, sir, why are you here? You know, down there talking and this and that. Why are you here? I said, where you from? South Africa. Wait, apartheid? I said, because I just left South Africa not too long ago, and there is nothing going on. So I'm trying to find out, you know, what's actually happening as you're here. And so when you blindly and just open up the borders and let people just pour through, that gives way for the gangs to come in right along with people who may be honestly seeking asylum. And so we have to figure that out. Who's here because they're fleeing a bad political situation in their country? We haven't done it yet. And then we have to figure out who are the criminals. Because as you can tell, as us being a sanctuary city, these migrants can kill you and get out and go walking out down the street the next day.
But Renee, we both agree on the fact that the immigration process is broken. And that's the basis for those issues.
They evade the fares every single day. They do not pay anything at that train station. Let me do it. I'll be like this.
Thomas?
I definitely identify with these sisters right here. My name is Thomas, but with the migrants, there's different things with them. Like you've seen on TV, I'm not being biased by saying they were Spanish, beating the cop. But I walk down 116th Street all the time and Lenox. And those migrants are communicating together, doing deliveries and everything like that, sleeping together, helping each other. And I've talked to one of them and he said, we just sleep like that. We help this one get his, then we help this one get that. But they're Muslim. You see what I'm saying? But there's a lot of bad ones too that think they have to survive in a way of, because of where they came from. And so she's right. There is a lot of people different like that right here in America right now. You know, but you see, Trump did that. He was the one that said he was going to build a wall. He's the one that said he was going to do all that and separated families that they're not even together no more. See, this is the thing. He created that. It could have been a little bit different. But see, we got a black mayor. And all those other southern countries was dumping people on us like crazy. You understand what I'm saying? But we had to accept them like that. You understand what I'm saying? So, but we have to accept them in a way where they can get their identity here. So if anything happens, we know who it was. I tell my girlfriend all the time, have your keys ready when you go in the building, because there's too many different people that you can't identify. So that's the problem right now. You understand what I mean? So, and I identify what y'all saying. I really do. I see it. I'm always in Harlem. Harlem is Harlem. I love Harlem. But anyway, but I'm just saying, it's like, you gotta be careful. But you said, we have to unite together. I know somebody I was working for that's a counselor in the school. She didn't know that the school, trying to get rid of the black principals and stuff like that. They have their meetings. We need to have ours. We need to unite together. That's the unition. We have to have our own thing. You know what I'm saying? Because outside, they have their own thing. They go out, they eat their bagels, their kids go to school, but they all connected. We need to get connected. Black people need to get connected. I love you. Thank you.
One statement, with the issue of architecture, ethically, it is impossible for architects to accept those vibrant, those homes with holding immigrants. It's against their ethics. They will normally just sit back and not say a thing. Ethically, you're not being a gentleman by supporting or constructing or contributing to that idea, even if it is federal. You cannot do that. So I see that why it exists. So it's a shame and a slap in the face of the city.
Everyone who came in this country came as an immigrant. The only true Americans are the Native American Indians. Everybody else came from one culture. So now the problem is, and Kamala Harris covered it in the debate, is that the Democrats or Biden administration was trying to get an immigration policy, get a hold of what's going on the border, but the Republicans who run the Senate refuse to go along with anything. And they can't do anything unilaterally. I mean, he's trying to do something with a executive order. But the problem is everybody came here on the boat. We're all
Or airplane.
Yeah, whatever, but nobody was born here, but the Native American Indians. Now, when you came over back in the day, after the war, there was an Ellis Island that screened people, that vaccinated people, that started to circulate in the population. They also had schools, they had an organization. And this is not what's going on now. Even with the shelter you're talking about, the shelter there's bureaucracy even with that, because that building that has no facility, no water and no facility, they're leasing it for $33 million. Okay, so something like that should be what's being looked into. And we have to, and he's right, we do have to get together and take care of ourselves. And take care of others, because we always have. But everybody that comes over here is not a good person. There's no good person anywhere in America, anywhere in the world. There's good and bad in all of us. And we have to realize that. So you deal with the bad, but you don't try to suppress the good. And that's what we've been going through as Black people in America. We've been oppressed, suppressed, and nevertheless, we've come through this far.
Yeah.
We've gotten education when we weren't allowed to be educated. We did. Okay, all music is Black music. We've done a lot of Black people built America. Okay, so now we need to get back to that and realize that they have potential, and as I said, there's good and bad in everybody. But the way the current administration is dealing with it, even in the city, is not correct. And that does have to be corrected. And that is kind of on average. I got to give him that. I mean, he's done a lot of good and a lot of things, But this is where he's kind of missed the ball on this. Thank you.
I would like to say that, the mayor is making a lot of steps to try to correct what's going on with the migrant crisis. I had a dinner in Clinton Hill, and I invited the mayor to come to Clinton Hill, to come to Hall Street, and to meet us, me and a few of the business owners and homeowners and tenants and the like at the dinner. The mayor came. He agreed that it was overpopulated, and he agreed that he would like to downsize. And I gave him the offer and said, I will help you, Mr. Mayor, because we cannot live like this. Sometimes when you don't live nearby, you can take a different approach because it's not you and it's not on your step. But when it's on your doorstep, then it's like, whoa. If you live in all the way in Crown Heights somewhere, you have no understanding of what you see on TV or what you think. But when you live right here, it's a different understanding of what's really going on. The people on Hall Street, they call me to come to help them because they can no longer be afraid and feel like they're being held hostage where they live. I told the mayor I would get a little team of neighbors together. We could get and search out some buildings to help to downsize this big monster of a building. And it's about the community coming together to help the situation. So it's not about us fighting, because if you really look at it, at this point, just about the migrants got more rights than you. Okay, and so when a lot of times people like to turn the blind eye. I don't turn no blind eye to anything these days. I'm too old and grown for that. I've been through enough with people. And so at this point in my life, I'm like, let the chips go where they make them. I don't compete. When you see that things are not going right politically in your neighborhood, you must speak up. I went out, some folks called me and said, I have a building. And by the way, 47 Wall Street was leased for $45 million for 18 months. $45 million for 18 months. Where you see that at? And then, so now, these owners of a building in Manhattan called me and said, I have a building, please. We need our building, for the shelter crisis. We was reading what you were doing, and we would like to offer our building. I did a walkthrough, and with some of the, the administration folks and the owners, the brokers, all these people, we walked through. And I took many pictures and I sent them out into the community. Now people are like, oh no, that's too much for them. What do you want? We're doing our best. We don't want them at 47 Wall Street because it's not really appropriate. They don't have showers. They don't. They have like one bathroom on each floor and it's 4,000 people. That's really full. And so this place where we have bathrooms, showers, and gyms, and saunas, fitness room, catering hall, banquet. Listen, either you want it or you don't, right? And so we're looking for buildings that can house about 100 to 200 migrants. We must spread them out evenly. We must, because that's the only way to take care of people that have come here if this is what we're looking to do. You take care of people properly.
All right, we're gonna close out. I want close out statement from each of you guys,
A statement.
or this.
So what you guys have had the opportunity to see is to see people who have been engaged in the community and long-term residents of the community. One of the things that you have to remember is that the people who live in Brooklyn, the people who walk through the streets, the people that live in different communities are actually the experts of not only the issues that come before the communities, but what living the quality of life is in the community. If you're going to change a bus route, if you're going to put down a bike lane, if you're going to decide that you can't have a market on a particular street, if you're going to change the schools, the people that you need to talk to, most often, I always say, if you want to know what's going on in the neighborhood, ask a woman. We're the caretakers. We're the mothers, the aunts, the grandmothers. We know what's going back and forth. So you're seeing both myself and Ms. Collymore are women, but more importantly, we're engaged and we engage with different factors of the community. I would wholeheartedly recommend that people who are not engaged become engaged. Find one issue that you really care for. Go to a community board meeting. Go to a precinct council meeting. Go to a community school district meeting. And also talk to your neighbors, talk to your residents, because the same concerns that you have, many times people ask, who's making that dumb decision? You could be in that room that people won't make that dumb decision, and that'll make a difference.
Thank you too for giving us the opportunity to express ourselves. The issue today is on architecture platform. Do what's the Atlantic Yards on Pacific Street. That has been a project that has been going on since the inception of places like the Boston Center, the tower, the Apple Store. That construction on Pacific Street is the lifeblood of construction inside of that area. And that area is where Brooklyn really started. Thank you.
I agree with Ms. Wedderburn. Please, please get involved at every level. Go to your community board. That's where you'll know what's coming down the pipe. Right now, a lot of people in my neighborhood is fussing and fighting over open streets and these bus lanes that have now taken over Lafayette Avenue and DeKalb Avenue. But guess what? This was coming down the pipeline anyway. Mayor Bloomberg put that in play. And then Mayor de Blasio put the nail in that coffin. So it's already here. It's like, don't be late on stuff. We don't need our people to be late, because now you're fighting a fight that's already been set in stone. So that's what I have to say. Please get involved, please.
Harold, let's close our statement.
Yes, I was just gonna allude to what Ms. Renee said about Wall Street. I have a good friend that lives on Wall Street, and I'm always on Wall and Myrtle and Park. And it's pretty crazy over there right now on Wall Street. Migrants took over the park. I mean, you do, there's a lot of basketball tournaments at the park, a lot of summer basketball tournaments at the park, and it's just ridiculous. They don't have enough space out there with the shelters. I think they have 2 buildings out there, and it's through the roof right now. Okay, so something has to be done. It's a lot of, like I could, like she stated, you have people defecating on people's property. You have people having sex. You have kids in the neighborhood that's witnessing this. It's a tragedy right now on Wall Street. It's crazy. So that's all I wanted to say. We have to stick together. That's the 100%, 200% rule. We have to stick together. And this is a major crisis right here. And if you're not from the neighborhood, I'm from Prospect Heights, but I go to Wall Street, 8-minute drive, 12-minute walk, I see it. I go to Comcal, I go get my Chinese food. I was there yesterday getting food for my mom. It's crazy out there, it's real. For people that don't know, come to Hall, come to Myrtle, come to Park, you will see it. Come to the park. They took over the park. It's bananas. My name is H. I'm out from Brooklyn.
So there you have it. We have Brooklynites come together to give their perspective on what they see, what they feel, what they're going through, and of course the entire political landscape in Brooklyn, New York, as well as the city. So we thank you, Community Cuts family. Thank you. We are located at 732 Washington Avenue, Salon Leahing, one of the best professional salons here in Brooklyn, and they have a great bar. So come on down and patronize them as well. This is an establishment that's been in business for at least 20 years. Thank you. God bless you. Community Cuts loves you, family.